launch and technologies. And I think technology, that's the key word here. So what's new in the fields of pharmaceutical industry? And I think what will become, let's say, a benefit for a pharmaceutical company that they will include artificial intelligence into their production processes, into their manufacturing process, and into their analytical procedures. And I have prepared only a few slides for you, so I will present you from my perspective. That's my perspective, not the perspective of Merck. That's my perspective. And my opinion, how artificial intelligence will change the work in the pharmaceutical industry, will change pharmaceutical manufacturing process, will change perhaps the way of thinking in the quality control area. And here, during my consulting activities, I see that most of the companies say, why should we change? Why should we change? Systems working. Systems working, and why should I pay the money?
Right. I mean, and that's probably what we're talking about when it comes to the level of adopting artificial intelligence. I think we're quite a few companies who are more in the phase of experimenting with it and really trying to figure out, is this really going to be a benefit for us? Is this really going to benefit product quality? And in the end, is it going to benefit our numbers? I mean, that you cannot forget that driver. I mean, from our perspective, as those who take on responsibility and quality assurance and in those actual companies' hands-on activities, our perspective is quality, but the company perspective is not ultimately. I mean, it is quality, but it is ultimately revenue. And the question is, if I introduce an AI application and it doesn't really benefit my numbers, then the question is that going to be introduced? And the adoption really depends on digitalization. And that in turn is not really regulated either yet.
You will see that the artificial intelligence not only costs money, but the artificial intelligence will evaluate if you're, for example, if your manufacturing process performing the best way. We, as human beings, developed this manufacturing process. So at the end, I see many experiments or projects that say, okay, this is our manufacturing process now. Please, artificial intelligence, learn from our manufacturing process, from the data that we get from the manufacturing process, that we get from data that's in our electronic documentation system. And the artificial intelligence starts to make suggestions how to improve this and to make this manufacturing process smarter. And so we get a more and more optimized manufacturing process compared to a paper-based manufacturing process.
This may become more important when your products go in the US FDA regulated market, because the US FDA is pushing something that's called quality system maturity. So the baseline or the floor, as FDA would say, is not simply to implement CGMP on the basic legal level, as what 21 CFR has to say, guidance for industry has to say. That's the base, that's the floor, the baseline. But FDA is going toward quality systems maturity. So robustness of the quality system is a very big deal. And FDA is going to measure companies that have been around for a while against this expectation. And so becoming more digitized in QA processes, in operative processes, is probably going to be the gateway to suffice with this in the long-term future. What everyone can see is that AI can only do as much as the digitalization of these processes has happened. So something that all these benefits that also are then here distilled out from McKinsey, they can only actually bear their fruit if digitalization has happened. And that's a whole thing that costs money, just like you said, and also all the question about how you do this, how do you implement this in your quality system. That's going to be the big question. Of course, the validation of these digitalization steps and the AI applications, that's a big question that is out there.
I said, what's the benefit? Okay, production time, yes. So it's faster because we don't have the ways between the individual rooms between the individual machines in a normal batch train. But what was more interesting for me, I asked about pad technology, so inline technology. And the expert said it's fully connected. So we have NER, we have Raman, we have other probes, other sensors hanging in the line. And what was very interesting was a 100% inline control of the content in the tablets after the tableting process. Was really inspiring. And then I said, okay, what about artificial intelligence in the background, making an evaluation, trending, etc. So only asked about trending. If we see an out of trend, if we see, okay, over the batch productions, so do we see a trend? Perhaps we should initiate a deviation, a kappa, an out of trend, so that we see, okay, we are going shortly, smoothly towards a specification limit. Perhaps we should adjust the tableting press, repair the tableting press, etc. And they told me it's not prepared yet, that artificial intelligence is in the background, but in 5 to 10 years, we will be ready. Meaning, what we see here is from the ISAHQ 13, I think a very, very good guidance, very, very good guideline. And what we see here is an illustration of such a continuous manufacturing tableting line. Horizontal blender, horizontal coder, tableting press as we knew it, but they are connected then to the horizontal coder. And yeah, we have lots of data here. I think one pad probe, you see here in the red circle, one pad probe, that's not enough. That's not enough, and that's not the reality. Yeah. We have in the blender, we have in the tableting press, we have in the coder, we have everywhere probes. We have such huge amount of data and that's what I talked about. 10 years ago, where do we get the data from? Now we have lots of data. What are we doing with this data? And I see it in a Launch and Technology Center. We are discussing about, okay, which data is really important for us? What do we really need? Yeah. And how can we evaluate if our process is running fine or not? And to close this, the artificial intelligence will help us doing this.
The interesting thing is that obviously this expert talk is not about continuous manufacturing, but of the AI that can go with it. So this kind of an integrated manufacturing line would be the best case of a parametric release, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so to improve the parametric release model, or even to set it up, which is very important to get approval for this kind of release, there I think AI can be a tremendous help. I mean, how many companies would wish, how many QPs, how many quality organizations wish for their processes to be a parametric release, right? Yep. So, I mean, this is this utopical, or this idyllic, or this kind of ideal that a lot of people still seem to have. Like, if it's only parametric release, our life will be good.
Yep.
So, and obviously integrated manufacturing get you these this opportunity even more. That's a big point. I mean, as we know, AI application only works with a lot of data, and that requires digitalization. And altogether, this is really a transformation of the company. And that's why we see the term digital transformation right now, even just equally represented in new guidance documents, in revisions of documents. Digital transformation, including AI, implementation is becoming more and more prominent in guidance documents. But the term that it is a transformation is really true, because it's not just yet another system you implement, you have to validate. It's not just one more computerized system somewhere. It's a lot more. It's a whole structural change. It's a change in use of data, of interconnectedness, of connecting the OT with the IT, all those things. And so it's a truly transformation and leadership topic.
The change in the organization. What about the quality control lab now? What about the people carrying out such testings at the line? So, for example, a visual check of tablets. It's not needed yet. So the change in the organization is really, really big. But I think it's worth that you change it in the future.
Right, and there's a huge problem. The problem that QC will have with digitalization and AI applications, the data are still QC responsibility. That doesn't go away, and all of a sudden we have this big committee that's introducing AI applications, the data pools, data lakes, digitalization, and all of a sudden they do all this without QC. It's all done with the IT, it's done with the business units, but it's not done with the QC. But they bear, at least according to European regulations, a key position and key responsibility for those data. And to integrate them, you said explainability here, for instance. So how do you integrate this in a current system of requirements for key personnel, for instance? Or if I think of an FDA regulation or guidance that says you need to take in-process control samples representing the batch. This is something the CFR says. And if you don't do this and say, well, AI says I don't have to do it, you're going to get a 483 for this. Right, the way it is right now, right?
One of my questions was, how will artificial intelligence change your job? So many lead auditors there, 60 people perhaps. And I said, and they were all discussing about checklists, challenges in the supplier management, etc. And then I had the simple question, artificial intelligence, do you use it? And how will this change your job? I made a simple experiment. So I got a few, I got the notes from an audit. So I'm also a lead auditor. I had a few notes there on written down on paper or in my laptop, no matter what it was. And then I took all this data into the artificial intelligence. I think it was ChatGPT, not telling the name of the company, not telling any information. Just I carried out an audit, and these are the findings. Please write an audit report. 20 pages. 20 pages. Please make a clear structure for an audit report. Show me, was satisfying, had a few corrections. And then I said, please insert the information coming from my notes. To be honest, was not as bad as I thought. It was a little not going too much into detail, but the structure and let's say the template itself, it was usable. So and this saved me, if I would use it, 12, 20 hours more perhaps. And I think all in audit management, to have another topic, there will be a change, even in the way of working as a lead auditor, from my perspective. The participants in the conference, they had a complete other opinion. They said, Felix, this will not happen. Artificial intelligence is not able to write a report, or to write a plan, an audit plan, or to make notes during you're performing an audit. So you can, few artificial intelligence tools are able to listen what is happening there, making notes, and writing in the background then a kind of pre-report for you. So that's also possible. I think that's another area where we can see that artificial intelligence will change the job at all. So what's your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, auditing is and you have the same dynamic variables in all the QA and QM systems. You have it in risk management, you have it in all kinds of reporting, any kind of planning. You all of a sudden introduce variability, and you have a procedure that says suppliers of excipients have to be re-audited every 3 years, for instance. But here comes AI and says, well, I'm going to change this depending on context and information. For a particular company, there would be a risk-based approach still, but the procedure wouldn't be able to say, hey, it's every 3 years. But it would simply say AI is going to determine that.
Yep.
Then it has to be a validated model. And then the procedure would simply say basic requirements of what needs to be done, and the actual doing or determining of an audit frequency would be done by the AI tool. We're also putting reports together, or also decision making. I mean, that's a very big question to come. Who, based on the report or the data in the report, is the AI going to be able to suggest whether or not the supplier should be approved or not? And way down the road, this may, and the whole decision-making character and the possibility of AI making decisions in a quality system that eventually lead to the release or contribute to a release of a product. That's a big one. And I think AI may have limitations because, especially when the standard of the audit is not quite clear or changes, or you have suppliers for whom you cannot really apply a certain rule, a certain norm, a certain guide, let's say packaging materials, certain packaging materials, or certain components, or whatever, or disposables. I mean, what audit standard are you going to feed the AI? It's going to be tough. You would have to, first of all, write that, adjust it almost for each supplier, because they're all kind of different. So context, lack of context could be some kind of a Achilles heel for the AI here. But putting reports together or even planning, I think that you could probably make that, provided that someone reviews the report, obviously.